Hello and welcome to Kingdom Inspiration News. This is our artist spotlight portion of the show, and I am excited to have on Alan W. Brown today on Kingdom Inspiration News. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so grateful to be on with you all.
Thank you for agreeing to be here. So, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, yeah. My name is Alan Brown. I go by Alan W. Brown, which is my first name, middle initial, and my last name. I am a Christian rapper slash Christian artist. I make music to glorify Jesus Christ. I am from Virginia, from the Central Virginia area. I am married. I do have a son. I'm just a minister of the gospel as well. Overall, I'm just a man of God, a man that loves Jesus. I love making music for my Lord and Savior. I'm just a man on a mission for God.
So tell us, we know you're an artist. So what's your story? How did you find out about this love for music? But even before that, tell us a little bit about your background as it relates to, you even coming to know who God is. Are you someone who grew up in church, or, was somebody that got introduced to God later in life? Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, I actually am. I did grow up in church. Thank God that I grew up in a two-parent home with my mama and my father. Thank God that they started taking us to church when we was kids. Didn't really take it seriously, a lot of the times, just coming to church and kind of just play around, not really listening or paying attention to the word or the preaching that was going on. But just being in that environment, hearing about God, hearing about Jesus Christ, was a great thing because, around about the age of 18, 19, 20, some things just started to change in my life as I started to get older and really think about life and just think about like, what really is the purpose of life, and that's when I met my current wife now. She wasn't my wife then. The relationship with her that I had with her, it really kind of slowed me down. And, we started going to church together. And, I just started listening. I just started listening to the word. I started listening to the pastor when he was preaching. And it just started to sink in. I don't know. I know now, looking back now, I know that was God really opening up my heart because at 20 years old, I really dedicated my life to him. I had been baptized around about 12, 13 years old, but I didn't really understand what I was doing. I was kind of just doing it because I thought that's what you're supposed to do. But around about the age of 20 is when things started to make sense to me. It's when I was sitting in church and it was just like the spirit was just hitting me in the heart every time the pastor would preach. This went on for week after week after week, when I was about 20. And then one Sunday, I just, I felt the leading and the spirit so heavy one Sunday. I just got up, went to the altar and I really surrendered my life to Jesus Christ. Then, and ever since then, when I was 20, ever since then, I just been in the field working for Jesus. Like I was a deacon at one point, then I became a minister. And then with the music, that started, when I was 12 years old. I used to look up to people like Lil Wayne and look up to the Jay-Z's and the Tupacs and all of that, and I was rapping at 12 years old, but I wasn't rapping for God. I was rapping, doing what I heard, trying to be like those guys, but as I was doing that when at 12 and 13, 14, people used to always, it was me and my brothers doing it together. I have two brothers as well, but people used to always tell me and look at me and say, you're pretty good at it. You pretty good at it. You got a gift at writing. People used to tell me that all the time, but I didn't really take it seriously, until when I truly gave my life to Christ at 20. I didn't even know Christian rap existed, honestly. I didn't even know there was no such thing. Like people really rapping for God, really? And then I heard a CD by Lecrae. I don't know if you heard of Lecrae. I'm sure you might. Lecrae, when I heard his CD, and that really blew my mind to the idea that you can actually rap for God. And that is when the journey began of me pursuing that, because God was just showing me that I could use my gift and my talent of rapping, writing raps, writing music, for his glory, for the kingdom.
That's good. So, uh, how long have you actually been, in the gospel arena?
About 6 years, about 7 or 6 years, seriously, that I've been pursuing it. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, how do you transition from, okay, like, well, okay, I can rap and I kind of like this, to really like this is something that I want to do?
Um, God just put a fire in my heart. Like he just put a desire in my heart that I just had to do it. Before making albums, before, traveling and doing, shows and things like that and doing the ministry, like I'm doing it now, like it was just a fire in me to just do it for him. And just as I continue to go and progress and on with it, God just began to open door after door after door, from where I started to where I am now. I can look back and say it's all by the grace of God, because I started with nothing but a desire and a call from Jesus. Like I started with nothing to now he has just used me in so many different ways, opened so many doors in my life. And I just look back, I'm like, glory to God.
Yes. So share with us what are some of the struggles, again, I really wanted this platform to be an opportunity for independent artists, because I know it's challenging. So what are some of the struggles, as an independent gospel artist, have you faced?
Oh, just being independent financially, it is difficult. It's hard to fund your music because when you are trying to do it seriously, when you are, trying to do it at a high level, it takes funds. It takes a lot. It takes a lot of time, a lot of your attention, a lot of your focus. You got to have people around you, that can help you and provide some of the resources that you need. So, it's a lot of different areas that it can be difficult in. And if you're not serious about it, if God ain't truly called you into this music, there's so many obstacles, so many roadblocks, so many difficulties, you're not gonna make it. Like you're gonna get tired, you're gonna feel like giving up, and eventually you're gonna give up because there are gonna be times when you putting out music, putting out songs, and nobody's listening, nobody's paying attention. Seems like nothing's happening, and you just gotta keep going. You gotta definitely have to educate yourself in how to market your music, how to promote yourself, how to branding and all that type of stuff. All that type of stuff is important when it comes to music. You have to learn all of that. I had to learn a lot, along the way, and it definitely has not been easy. Definitely has not been easy. But my love for it, my desire, my knowing that it's a call on my life is what has pushed me to keep going in the difficult times.
And that's what I was going to say. I guess because you feel like this is really like your assignment, this is what you're supposed to do, that has kind of pushed you and
Mhm.
allowed you to stay within that knowing that that's your purpose.
Right. Yes, purpose. And that is the thing. Like when I found my purpose, life just changed. It's just, when you find your purpose, it's like that thing that that God has created you to do. It's like that you have to do it. You just have to do it. It's like even if nobody's listening, even if nobody pays attention, even if nothing happens with this song that you're working on, just the feeling, the excitement, the joy that you get out of doing it, is no other. It's a greater high than any drug, anything you can smoke or anything. Like it's just an awesome feeling to do what you've been called to do.
Yes,
Create.
it is. It absolutely is.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you have, I heard, you mentioned about, that was then and this is now. So do you do a lot of traveling, or do you tend to stay more local?
I've done a lot of stuff locally, but I've also recently been able to travel. I performed in Jacksonville, Florida. Recently, I performed in North Carolina 3 or 4 times. I've been to South Carolina. I've been to just a lot of places along the East Coast. I've been, God has opened some doors for me to be able to travel a little bit here recently. Like I said, I've done a lot of things locally as well. So, yeah.
So tell us about the last song that you produced and put out. What's the title of it?
The Soul on Fire. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's the inspiration? What's the story behind that?
Yeah, well, Soul on Fire, that just came out Friday. The inspiration behind that was, I'm just letting people know that I'm on fire for Jesus, and I don't want that fire to ever go out. It's an upbeat song, a up-tempo song. It's a fast song, got a nice beat to it that you can dance to, that you can just praise God to. And the song is just saying, like, my soul is on fire, and I don't want it to go out. We ain't never stopping. We not stopping until God say this thing, tell us to stop. We on a mission. We on fire.
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
So has one of your challenges been trying to transition into like the more traditional churches because you are a gospel rapper, or are you finding that maybe it's a little bit easier now?
Oh man, it definitely has been a challenge, trying to, do it in like some traditional churches. And I've been in a lot of Baptist churches. I've been in a lot of, just the traditional churches, and it's not for everybody. It's what I've learned so far. What I've learned on my journey so far is that it's not for everybody, and that you got to know your audience. You got to know your audience. I've seen a different reaction being in a traditional church versus just being out at a concert venue with youth. It's just a different reaction. It's a different atmosphere. People are more open to it. The younger crowd is a lot more open to it. But that's not to say that I'm just like totally against the traditional church, against that, not at all. But I just know my audience. So I kind of just allow the Spirit to lead me and where to go. I know now I can't say yes to everything, that some things it's not for me to do, and there's a specific, audience that God has called me to reach. And I try to just, follow the Spirit on that,
Right. So who is that audience? Who do you think that God has called you to be able to bring these powerful messages to?
A lot of the people that have received my ministry well are the people around my age, like people that are middle-aged adults down to the teenagers. Like, that's the dynamic that my music has hit the hardest and the most. People around 30 on down. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Well, 30 is not middle aged.
Yeah. Well, and that's not to say, I have people that are older than that support as well, but just the overall picture, looking at it, that is what has hit the most.
Yeah, I had an interview earlier with a young man, and he's also a gospel rapper, and his audience really is geared toward youth. And the conversation that we had, it was a great interview, great conversation. When you think about it, the age that you are talking about, from teens up to 30. So we're talking about that millennial generation for
Mm-hmm.
the most part.
Mm-hmm.
They're the ones that are not really active within the physical church right now.
Right.
They're
Right.
not going into the church. So there has to be people who's going to bring the message out to them.
Right. Right. Speak that language, have to be
Right.
able to
And
speak that
be
language.
able to bring it and they can relate to it and they
Yes.
can understand it.
Yes. Yes. And you also have to deal with being a gospel rapper. You have to deal with people everybody don't believe that rap is of God. There are some people out there that don't believe that that you should be rapping for God. So I've dealt with that. People online sending you hateful messages or comments on your songs and saying things like, "Oh, this is of the devil," and things like that. Like, you have to deal with that as well, because everybody don't agree with it, which doesn't make sense to me at all. You know, don't
Doesn't
understand.
really make sense to me either, because I don't think God is concerned whether we're singing it, speaking it, or
Hmm.
rapping it. You know,
Hmm.
as long as we are trying to be the light, which we've
Right.
been called to be, I don't think
Hmm.
that he's going to have an issue with us because you rapped it versus someone else singing it.
Right.
At the end of the day, the goal is to spread the message of Jesus Christ, to let
Right.
people know about who he is, about his love. So, you know what? Just ignore the naysayers and you just got to
Right.
keep going. So,
Hmm.
before we end, I want you to first share, how can people find you on social media?
Okay, yeah, I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I have a Twitter, even though I'm not that active on there. But I'm very active on Facebook and Instagram. My handle was at awb.igit on Facebook and Instagram. On Twitter is awb_igit. Then my website, of course, www.inGodITrustForever.com. Hey man, you can look me up on all of those websites. Follow me there. My music is available on Spotify, Apple Music, all of the digital streaming sites and the stores is available everywhere. You can go check it out.
Great. Before we end, do you have any words of encouragement for someone that might be listening that, feels like they've been called to, not just gospel rap, but, gospel as an independent artist, period, that might be struggling? What would you say to them?
I would say to them, don't give up. Don't give up. Keep the faith. If you know that God has called you to it, He's going to bring you through it. Like you gotta just keep going. Even when you hit those hard times, when you hit those seasons where it seems like just nothing is happening, nothing is going your way, keep going. Just keep going. Sometimes you gotta just encourage yourself that you can do it. Just don't give up. That's the worst thing you can do. That's the one way you can guarantee that it ain't gonna happen is if you give up. Everybody else around you can give up. Everybody else around you cannot believe in what you're doing. But as long as you believe, as long as you continue to go, the dream will still live. The dream is still alive as long as you still believe. So don't give up.
Thank you. That's great. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for sharing a little bit about yourself. Before we end, I just want to thank you. We're going to also let you check out a little bit of his music. So here you go, Alan W. Brown.
Amen.